K Motors in Newport is not your typical new car dealership. Sure, we've got a great selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs, great prices, and an award-winning service department. But did you know that we can customize your vehicle to make it look exactly like you want it to look? Come see us. We got wheels, tires, lift kits, window tint, any and everything you want to personalize your vehicle to make it unique. Just come to George Kell Motors off of Highway 67, exit 85 in Newport. Let's get started on your ride.
One. Well, hi everybody, and welcome to a very special presentation here on Cable 15. We're at Nanny's Bakery, where the McKees have cordially invited us down to tape what we think is going to be a great program. We have invited the 1965 Newport Greyhound State Championship basketball team here to a special reunion and get together. And the guys are here. We have the 5 starters. We also have Coach Bernice Duke. Coach Raymond Butch Duncan has made the trip down from Batesville. Paul Massey from Tulsa is here, and we're going to spend the next portion of our program just visiting with the guys. We're going to rehash Newport State Championship year of 1965, and we're going to update you on where all these guys are. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing. Of the 5 starters, 4 of the guys still live right here in Newport, Arkansas, the exception Paul Massey, who came in from Tulsa. We'll be visiting with everybody. I'm sure we're going to hear some stories that we've never heard before. I'm sure they're going to get embellished a little bit also, but we hope that it's going to be a fun time. We thank the McKees, and we remind you, for the best pastries in the world, Nanny's Bakery. They got them right here. You know you can't beat the goodies they've got at Nanny's, and we thank the McKees for having us here. And coming up, Mr. Charlie's been wanting to do this for some time. It's a great idea, and we've got the store decorated with Greyhound memorabilia, and the guys are back here in the background reminiscing and talking. And we're just going to have sort of a roundtable discussion with the fellas that are here and relive some of those wonderful memories. It's the start of the high school basketball season, so we thought it was a pretty good time to play this tape. Now, if you're watching on Sunday afternoon, we're airing the program first on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and you can see it again Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock, and then on Friday morning, the day after Thanksgiving, our Breakfast Bunch show at about 7:30. A lot of folks watch our Breakfast Bunch from 6:30 to 8, so we'll start our replay of this broadcast again. So if you're watching on Sunday or Tuesday and you missed part of it, Friday morning about 7:30, be able to see this program once again. We're going to get all the guys seated. We're going to try to do a roundtable discussion, introduce you to everybody. As a matter of fact, I might just walk over there and start talking to the guys and let them introduce themselves, and then we'll all get seated. We'll do that right now. Okay, and we've got everybody seated, and we're going to continue with our program. Let me introduce these guys to you now. There are a lot of folks in Newport now that weren't here 31, 32 years ago. And we want to start. To my immediate left is Paul Massey. And Paul, let me ask you where you're residing now.
Jinx, Oklahoma, in Tulsa, suburb of Tulsa. Don't live too far from Coach Duke, about a mile away.
All right, and of course, everybody knows Coach Bill Ozier, a longtime Newport High School basketball coach, very successful, winning many conference championships, and as a great part of this team. Let me tell you what his best asset is, besides being a great basketball player: trivia and knowledge. All right, you're the stat man on this show.
Don't hold me to every fact, buddy.
Okay, all right, we'll do our best. Now, to my immediate right is Coach Bernice Duke, who has made the trip in from Tulsa. Coach Duke, glad to have you here.
Oh, thanks a lot. I was here I think coached here like 5 or 6 years, and I look back at some of the highlights of my life being here at Newport.
You bet, winning that state championship, and everybody here knows Coach Butch Duncan, who has been super successful up in Independence County, his home grounds with Farm Bureau Insurance. Coach, a pleasure to have you here, because I was telling these guys earlier, and a lot of folks don't know, that you and I were together as part of this team in a way, because you were the head junior high basketball coach when I was a 9th grader, and we traveled a lot with this ball club. And I was telling the guys earlier, the night they lost to Paragould, we won.
Right. Maybe the only time we beat Paragould.
Wait. Let me mention something here. I happen to have the junior high scorebook from that year. If we look here in the first
Nobody
game.
cares, Bernie.
No, against Wynn. Wait a minute, Wynn. Y'all beat Wynn 38-26. And Mr. Black started. He was on fire. He scored 9 points, but you didn't have him in shape, because in the fourth quarter, He didn't score anything.
Look at him. You think you can get him in shape?
Well, he was great up until the fourth quarter.
Said, when were you ever this skinny? I said, I must have just been born. I don't remember being that.
Yeah, I played a little bit for Coach Duncan's team that year in '65, and next to Coach Duncan is Mike Allen, and Mike, one of the guards we would call on the team, and then Donald Ray Smotherman, and most of you local folks know Donald Ray and Mike. Donald Ray, very successful with State Farm Insurance, and Bill Holt, who has returned to Newport. And Bill, welcome back. And Bill is the minister at the Holden Avenue Church of Christ, and one of the first truly, really good big men to play basketball in the state of Arkansas. So, guys, first off, it is a pleasure to have everybody here. We have no format. We want to tell the folks watching at home we're just as loosey-goosey as we can be, and we want to talk basketball, and we want to talk 1965. Coach Duke and Coach Duncan, I'll start with them. I'll ask a couple of questions, and I just want everybody to jump right in. We'll talk about these things. Did you have an idea that this basketball team before the season started had a chance to do what it was going to do?
Well, I don't think we thought about winning the state at the time. The problem was we were in the toughest conference. I mean, the conference we were in had Leechville, Paragould, Greene County Tech, and those kind of places. They had won the state for the last 3 or 4 years, and just to get in the go of the state was going to be really tough. I mean, you had to either get in the finals or win it to go. And I remember that Batesville almost beat us because we got beat the year before and didn't get to go.
The sun went down.
And I mean, it was tough even getting to the state tournament. And then we'd only lost 3 up until that time, and so we certainly had a good team. But there was other teams in the state and the region that was perhaps as good as us.
Okay, I'm going to ask you. Yeah, Bill.
When Paul asked Paul when he first thought about winning the state tournament.
Yeah, Paul Massey, when did you?
Little Rock Hall game.
Okay, Little Rock Hall contest.
Man, I don't know. what was it?
Bill remembers, and you know.
I'm older than Bill.
If you like the score of that game, I can give it to you. But it was Newport 68, Little Rock Hall 48. They had scheduled us as a breather before they played Little Rock Central on a Friday night.
Oh.
And we took care of business pretty good.
Beat them, and I think that was the game that we thought we might have a chance to do something, because we beat a sort of a big-time team then.
The ball game that I remember, and I don't know why, but it was at Greene County Tech rather early in the year, and we won it. Was it Massey that dribbled out the clock? I remember Paul running around like a chicken with his head cut off, but holding on to that ball, and I'm sitting there saying, looky here, guys, we're going to win at Greene County Tech. And I knew right then, I said, this ball club can do something.
They were good. They actually ended up, I believe, in the semifinals of state, and they had, they had like 3-4 guys, 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", like that. So, yeah, they had an excellent team.
We played them, 4 or 5 times?
And when we played them in the semifinals of state tournament, the first quarter, they had us. They made 11 out of 13 field goal shots. They had us 24 to 15 at the end of the first quarter. But the first one that really scared us is when we went down and we played Mountain Home, who won the state the next year. We played in the first round. They had us 19 to 8 or something like that. At the end of the first quarter, they had us, and I said, guys, we're going to have to change the offense. We're going to have to press, not to try to steal the ball, but we've got to get them to run in and get them out of their pattern. And consequently, we tied them up at, I believe it was 32-all at the first half, and then went ahead and beat them like 19 points or something like that.
That was the start of the run of the 4 games in the state tournament. Bill Ozier, when did you first feel like this basketball team had a chance to be something special?
I felt like it when we beat Paragould here at Newport. We jumped out on them about 16-2 and pretty much kept the lead the whole game and put them away. And I think they were rated like 4th or 5th in the entire state at that time. And that was, I think, in about mid-January or early January. And I knew right then that we we're going to be pretty good.
Okay, guys, everybody else, Donald Ray, our coach?
This team had a good chemistry about it. We had, Bill's a big man, and Mike was a designated shooter. He was on designated shooter, you know. Donald Ray ran the ball club. Ozier steady rebounded, and Massey was the red-headed guy. And, you know, we had it all. I mean, he did all the trick shots. We had a big coach, a little coach. You know, we had
the best balance. We had the best balance because if you look at the scoring average, they all most of them double figures, and they were all about the same. Like I say. He was a quarterback up front, passing everything. Mike, boy, he could shoot that thing and break up zones. Bill underneath. They couldn't turn anybody loose. Paul could shoot outside our drive. And so Ozier, the same thing. They could make free throws. They weren't jealous of each other.
Yeah, this team here, there was no, I played on all football, basketball, baseball, and track from the 7th grade. This is the only team I ever played on Newport. There was not any jealousy. It was
whoever's night it was, and get the ball to somebody. Don, Bill, what do you guys remember when you looking back at it when you said, "Uh-oh, looky here, we got a chance to do something great"?
It was the Paragould game that I remember that we seemed to really play well against them, and the fans. I can remember that game. They had to bring the chairs out to sit around the court. And we had a lot of good support from the fans.
We did.
Well, see, Newport, and I showed it to Coach Duke last night, and he didn't believe it, but Newport, we held the state record at Barton Coliseum. There was like 6,400 people there until the 70s when the triplets, when Arkansas had the triplets. That was a state, the biggest crowd ever see a basketball game in Arkansas until the triplets come along, which was, you know.
If you saw the movie Hoosiers, you almost saw a thing like because when we'd go to play, boy, we'd go in the bus, and a lot of Newport people would go in cars right behind us, so that helped out too, helping at the game.
Bill Holt, when do you recall?
Well,
what ball game?
I think that Little Rock Hall game was a big difference for me, although, you know, we thought at that time, yeah, we've got a pretty good chance and we've got a pretty good team, but I don't know. I look back on those years, and I recall that you know, I don't think I really believed it until the end. I think then I really believed it.
Do you guys?
Bobby Blanchard cut the net down. You know?
Do you guys remember the early ball game that year, Bill, at McCrory? Was it? We almost got beat at McCrory. High scoring affair, wasn't it, or something? Yeah. Tell me about it, Coach Ozier.
Well, that was a game where I think we had already maybe beaten Paragould, and we were feeling pretty good. And we thought we'd go down to McCrory. I think they were a Class A team and beat them. And we were warming up before the game, and we heard a little commotion on the other end, and they had guys down there slam dunking. And you just didn't do that much, you know, back then. And those guys led us, I think, 3.5 quarters. And I think we ended up beating them 78-74 and had to put it away at the end. And that gave us, as they say today, a wake-up call, I think.
Yeah, and might have really helped, I mean, you know, on down the road. I remember that, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Batesville game, the district tournament, because, you know, as your 30 years have gone by and people think, oh, we just swept through the district tournament, boy, and as Coach Duncan said, golly, we came very close.
Everyone wants to talk about. Most of the people in Newport know Archie Jones. And I told Bernest, you know, I'd watched Batesville play, and of course being from there, and Jones couldn't throw one in this building, you know. I said, leave him alone, and we did. He scored about 20-something points. It's a highlight of his career. Most of the time, most people basically don't want to talk about a lot about Newport games in anything, you know. But he tells that story quite often about how we almost let them beat us. You know,
right.
Good players with Brogdon and Llewellyn. They had a good team.
Yeah, they did have a good ball.
You know, it's funny. It's human nature. You know, you remember the losses. You got 27 wins, but you seem to remember the losses. Our ball club lost to Mariana in the Northeast Arkansas tournament, lost to Leachville at home, and then lost the game that anybody that grew up in Newport, Arkansas, and was here in the 60s will always remember, the game at Paragould, 51-49. Stat man?
That's pretty close.
Okay. All right.
And, that's exactly right, buddy.
And that is one that that we'll all remember because unfortunately things weren't real friendly on the floor afterwards. That was a ball game, and I'm going to get Coach Osier to hit me with the setup here. I think he'll remember that we had the ball game won and thought we got fouled late. It was either Mike or Donald Ray thought got fouled. And Hyde or somebody ended up at the free throw line for Paragould.
To the best of my knowledge, the scene was this. I was watching the action there at the end. I basically watched the whole game because, if I remember, I didn't play very good. And we had trailed the whole ball game, and Coach Duke had called a press, and we pressed them right at most of the fourth quarter. And Paul, I think, finally made a steal on the press and scored with something like 3 or 4 seconds on the clock. It was a driving layup type play. And it's just a matter of them throwing the ball in and maybe slinging a long one up for a desperation shot. But all of a sudden, the whistles blew.
That was after we were already in the huddle.
Yes, sir. The whistles blew, and we went to the huddles. And Coach Duke was telling us what to do, and Coach Pinnell was telling their guys what to do. And they go to the huddle, and they pick out one of Paragould's players and tell him he's shooting 1-and-1.
Yeah, with no time.
With no time on the clock, and we're getting ready for overtime. So he steps up to the line, and he shoots the first one and makes it. And I said, well, this is it. So I head to the dressing room. And I go in and get me a drink of water, and I wait about 30 seconds, and nobody shows up. And I wait a little while longer, then I go back out, and the floor was covered with a sea of people. I mean, and there weren't real pleasant expressions on everybody's face. And someone else might want to take it from there, but that's the setting that I remember about the Paragould game.
Now, I was out on the floor during that time, but I was strictly out there as a peacemaker.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. With my personality, I was not agitating anything at all. I was trying to get Bernice to whip everybody in. I said, Bernice, you're a boxer. I said, hit somebody. You won the Golden Gloves, man. Go out there and punch somebody out.
It was an unbelievable night, and I know that fans will always remember that one. I think that's a ball game that fired our club up. I think
it fired our town up too.
Yeah, I think the town, everybody got involved, and they said, "Look, we're really going to go do well from here on in." And but that's sea of people. That's a sea of humanity or whatever. Give me a recollection, guys, real quick about that night and what you remember about it and the ball game itself.
They called a foul on you, didn't it?
Yeah,
you weren't even where
I was number 5, and they called a foul on me, and I was on the other end of the court, and I was the one that supposedly fouled the guy at the end of the game.
They said on the rebound, I said, what happened? It's, well, when he shot at the buzzer, of course the game was over, said on the rebound, 2 guys bumped together, and we believe one of your guys bumped more into him than the other. And so that was what they called it.
The best I remember that they had to escort the referees out of town. Newport folks was waiting on them.
Oh, man.
And it was about an hour after the game, and the police had to escort them to the outskirts of Paris.
You guys remember the late Mr. Dean Hook was very quiet, mild-mannered gentleman. Yes, and Mr. Ransom Smith, but I remember Mr. Hook, out there. And he was emulating Bernice Duke. He was actually throwing. Yeah, his coat off. You're ready to throw a left jab or two.
But I never actually accosted anyone at that match.
Right.
It wasn't because I wasn't urging you.
And here's Bill, the man of the cloth. See, and I'm associating with this bunch for all these years.
He took the high road.
Oh my goodness! Let's see. We lost the ball game to Leachville home, and then won at their place.
There, Mike made a last-second jump shot from.
That was in 2
But I
overtimes.
think that is the only game that we actually lost right over here when Leachville beat us.
69-63. Had a terrible night.
Guard they had, man.
I think he shot 70% that game. Yeah, they were tough that game.
They had 2 or 3 guys played at UCA.
Yeah.
They were good, though.
District was good.
Oh, well, 3 of the Final 4 were in the state champion. I mean, it's 3 of the Final 4 from this district in the state playoffs down at Barton Coliseum. And who didn't get there? Paragould lost to Harris.
Batesville, unfortunately, and Batesville was good.
Okay, no, I'm talking about in the state tournament. We actually
Batesville didn't get to go to the state.
right. Had to play us in the open round. District tournament time, guys. Here we are. We're rocking and we're rolling. We get to go over, and we just mentioned Batesville and Bill. That ball game was
64-60 Newport.
Now, so we weren't just really as good as we were. We just weren't blowing people away.
Some stats and leave me out before this. A lot of this stuff I don't remember.
A lot of this time you weren't listening.
That's what I'm doing here.
But look, they were actually, the game was tied up, and I said, look, we got the ball. And I said, look, let's hold the ball, make them foul us. But I said, if they don't, if they come out and get us, go in for a layup. And that's what we did at like in the very end. And we got a couple of shots.
Yeah, we had to make about 4 free throws to put it away.
Yeah,
and Batesville led about the whole game.
They led the whole
Yeah.
game.
That's when I almost broke my hand on that chalkboard in that gym. You remember at halftime? Oh, Bertie said, "You got anything you want to say?" And I said, "Yeah," and I whammed that chalkboard. I was trying to get somebody to wake up because we were walking around
I mean,
like
you got
a
to
bunch
realize,
of
I don't know
zombies.
if Leach was like this now, but they didn't have football. I mean, their whole sports program was basketball.
Sure. Small school playing at a little higher level, higher classification. And they were very, very good, no doubt about it. And, everybody in the league, I guess, was pretty solid. We win that district tournament. Everybody remembers it snowed at Leachville. We fought the snow driving home. Remember all that? I mean, it snowed coming home that night of the semifinals or finals. We get to go to Barton Coliseum. It's 19-6, as Coach Duke said at the end of the first quarter. Paul Massey, what were you thinking? We're thinking we'll come back, or, boy, we don't have any business being here. Or...
I tell you what, I thought we better get with it. But right at before the half, I think, didn't we try to press them just a little bit?
Just to get them loosened up.
Yeah. But I tell you, old Bill Holt won that game for us right there because Bill just demolished the center for them. And he got 33 points that game. So
Is that the dunk?
that was a 3-step dunk.
The 3-step dunk, yeah. The three.
I guess that was 3 steps.
Yeah, it was a dunk, so that's what counted. Yeah.
But
Don't tell my boy about this.
Oh, he could jump high though. He just made it look good.
we were down 19-6 and came back and won that ball game. And in the second round, Mableville, which is now Little Rock McClellan, right? What do we remember?
They had one really good player called Middleton, and we were just a better team than them. And we went out and we got ahead of them in about the middle of the fourth quarter. I put the subs in, to give the subs a chance and make that other team feel good. So they put a press on our subs, and that's when they started cutting the lead down. But they didn't cut it enough, of course, but they cut it, and that's when the newspapers remembered, as you'll get on as we travel along, you're going to see the newspapers are going to come back and say, Harrison wins on the best press we've ever seen. Oh, Mableville hurt Newport with their press. Well, it was against our subs, you see.
Right.
They didn't remember that. So that's when they thought we were going to get beat in the finals.
Okay, now guys, we know we come back in the Mountain Home ball game and win that. We beat Mableville. We know we're looking at one of our guys that we've beaten a couple of times already in the semifinals. Barely. But we know that you got some confidence there. But those goblins are lurking, and there they are. They're great press. Nobody can get the ball up the floor against the Harrison Goblins. They don't beat people. They just destroy them. As we get ready to go to the semifinals, is everybody kind of peeking over their shoulder looking at Harrison? How do you feel about that?
Looking at Paragould.
I started looking at Harrison the first day we got down there. I realized that we were going to be in the finals, or I thought we were going to be in the finals. And I told Bernice, I said, you get us to the finals, and I'll tell you how to take care of Harrison.
Now listen, we've heard the legend for 30 years, and now from the big horse's mouth himself.
Let me tell you what he did. He came right straight to me after the semifinal game, and he said, now tell me.
Okay, so we went out and practice.
I know it. We came out and practiced. Their point guard could not throw one in a bucket, and he was always dishing off down inside. And these three guys played on the back, and we stood there, and we didn't let him throw it to the big boy that went to University of Arkansas, what was his name? I can't remember. Played football. Lyndall Thomas, you know, and he was the one that was scoring all their points.
And Turney brothers, too.
Yeah, the Turney brothers were pretty good, but he was the point guard never wanted to shoot, and he took about
so we
6 or 7
sunk
shots.
on him, yeah.
I tell you what helped us. The significant thing on that game was beating the press.
No, it was.
Because we worked on beating the press, and we did.
Yeah.
And
No,
we worked on that Saturday before we left.
When we came, we
came back.
And we did, and they just sort of folded.
The guy that's throwing it in, the other guy go get in. You pass it to him, and then the guy steps out. They're really fooling.
They didn't have any idea what, you know.
See, here's the thing. Paragould was a very good team. I had this Washington boy that went to Mississippi State, about 6'6", I guess he was. And so what happened? So they Paragould was beaten in the semifinals. They were ahead of Harrison 16-5 after the first quarter. Harrison put on a tough press, caught him, beat him about 10, 15 points. Okay. So I realized, and I've seen teams today that do it against the press, they're just happy to get it over the half. They'll get it over the half, and then they'll set up. I said, guys, we've got to make them pay for that press. So we set up Bill at the top of the circle, threw it into him, and then the streak down the court, and we'd always have 2-on-1 or 3-on-2. We scored on their press. And then once you get behind in the press, what can you do? You can't do anything else. I mean, you can't go in the zone or something. So we just got ahead of them, and they just never
What
could.
did we beat them, 17?
We beat them
67-49.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, I knew, just like y'all were saying earlier, when Mike come down there, and I think he hit, was it 3 in a row? Yeah. And they called timeout real quick. I knew right then that was going to be the easiest game of the whole tournament right there. Because, I mean, Mike come down there right at the top of the circle, bam, 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 and boy, they called timeout quick.
I told you guys earlier before we got on the air here about my father, rest his soul. When Mike hit that first jumper from the point out there, you know, and my father nudged me in the ribs and we're going to be all right, you know, because everybody was scared. You know, we thought that Harrison had a chance to take care of us.
I guess we were underdogs, and we didn't know it. But
you know, if y'all remember, we were talking about the fans a while ago. 67 out here looked like a funeral procession with people from Newport. I'm talking about back and forth because, you know, we came back. Well, we only spent one night down there. Spent one night down there, and the rest of the time we came back and forth.
Blocked the door.
And Ray and I were going out on town, and he put his bed up in front of the door at 6:30.
He moved his bed up against the door so nobody could get by.
6:30 at night.
I wouldn't stay in a room with him because I knew I was going out.
He was trying to keep Duncan from going out.
Well, of course, it was a state championship year, and 67-49, the final in that one. And there we are, you know, and we won the state championship. And I'm a kid. I'm a 9th grader, and it is probably one of the great moments in my life, being a 9th grade kid and your high school team winning the state championship, and never seen anything like it. Of course, we won a couple of football championships since then, but never another basketball title. Butch had a real good ball club in 69-70 here that went to the Final Four and gave Searcy fits before succumbing to them. Won a lot of awards, and everybody was honored and decorated. But does people still talk to you, especially you 4 guys here in town now? People still talk to you all the time about this year and about this team?
Really?
People come up and they talk about it. They say they've got a scrapbook of back in '65. It's amazing how the people still remember the games, talking about it.
We had a fellow last night. We went over to Truman to watch our ball game last night, and a fellow that had lived here during those days and now lives in Truman, he came over and introduced himself and says, "I remember you, and I remembered Paul and Billy and the '65 season," and it happens all the time.
Bill Osier, how'd you learn to shoot that ball from a corner?
That's probably the only place I could shoot it from until the finals.
Told him to go. You go over and stand a corner.
We had to have someone to pass it to someone else besides Donald Ray, so but that just happened to be where I played. I played in that position, and I took advantage of it. But I tell you, to be honest with you, I was probably the worst shooter on that team. If you had a game of horse and you shot from outside, and that lets you know the balance we had on that team. Everybody, Bill Holt right now could shoot behind the 3-point line and do a good job of it. And I think that's the one thing. We had 5 guys that could score.
Yeah, Donald.
We had 3-point basket.
Oh my goodness.
Mike and I talked about that.
Mike would have averaged about 50 points a ball game.
Yeah, probably at least.
Yeah, he could shoot the ball, Donald Ray. You could shoot it when called upon. You know.
Too often.
Well, no, but now had some nights. And I remember Paul taking the basketball and driving the basket. You know, that's what I remember sticks out watching Massey drive the basket.
That layup that he stole the ball we was talking about a while ago, I just tickled to death he didn't go in there and reverse it. You know, his by himself. And I figured it entered his mind because that's how he shot.
Coach Steve taught us to, don't shoot a regular layup, twist or turn.
When they saw me come across half court and I had the ball, they'd get in rebound position. I wasn't scared to put it up.
See, when I was in high school, my high school coach was Preacher Rowe that pitched for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And so, and George Kell was the referee for those games. I did not get to play basketball until I was in 11th grade. And so, therefore, I didn't have a good outside shot. And when I played it for Arkansas College, I learned to drive and learned all those shots. So that's why I taught it to Paul. I taught him those shots and Osier to a certain extent.
Two things I want to know the real truth here. First off, did we come back that Saturday morning after the semifinals and work out and practice?
Yeah, against the press.
Worked against the press and worked against not letting that point guard
I
dish the
think
ball
we
off.
hadn't done that. We might have been because that worked. I couldn't believe that worked so good.
You set Bill Holt up the top and pass. Yeah. He caught it. And these guys would zoom by, and boy, they went down. We'd have them 2-on-1 and 3-on-2.
I was always behind, though. They used to time me by the sun.
But he was our defensive man. They got past us. He had to stop.
Being back.
He was back, man.
He was back in case they got stolen or something. We had a guy back there.
No, we still used that attack on the press in '65. I mean, in '69 and '70, when I was after burning stuff, we still used that same thing and had some rules. You know, that's why people would go against Harrison's press. They didn't have a plan. I mean, they'd go out there and just say, "Well, we're going to get the ball down," like what they were.
Just try to get it over half.
Yeah, their goal was to get it down and try to dribble it, and then we had a plan of attack, and it worked. We don't want it planned against their press. I think.
And y'all, refresh my memory here, maybe Bill Osier, but I thought ball game basically was over early. And we not get a bit,
That's the easiest ball game we had to
Of course, he almost fouled, or he did foul out.
I remember I stole the ball pretty close to the end of the game and fed Bill, and he dunked it. And his first time anyone had dunked it in the game.
They only stole the ball one time from us. They trapped you once.
Used to dunk it back then like they do now.
They stole the ball one time in that press.
Somebody, Bill or Mike or somebody, hit a long jumper and put us up by a bunch in the second half. This is, as a kid, how things etch in your mind. And I remember us sprinting down the floor, boom, getting in the zone, hands held high. And I'll never forget that image because, boy, you knew we have won the state championship. We had 7 or 8 minutes to go, almost all the fourth quarter. But you knew right then, and there's, you say, over 7,000 fans, and they're screaming and doing cartwheels. And that. Do we have any old films? Anybody got any old films?
I don't know if we did. I don't think we even filmed games back then. That was before electricity, wasn't it? We didn't have video recorders or anything.
We got a film, but we didn't play very well in it.
Oh, okay.
What was that? Of course, we actually could have only lost one ball game because the reason that I think Mariana beat us. Because they all wanted a vacation. They didn't want to be in that NEA tournament play during the Christmas holiday.
They just got hot. They hit free throws.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, my goodness. All right. What else we want to talk about? We've rehashed some of the big ball games. What was in the final game? Let me ask everybody when you felt it was over and that feeling, that when you look up there and you see the scoreboard and we're ahead 15, 17, 18 points, whatever, against Harrison, you're sitting there thinking there's 7,000 people, most of them from Newport, I think, yelling and screaming. What did it feel like, Paul Massey?
Oh, I tell you, just like I said, when old Mike come down there and hit those, I thought, well, man, this is not going to be as tough a game as I thought. And Osier played a great game that game. I didn't play that good. I did pass and I didn't score that much, but Osier played a good game. Mike played a good game. I mean, just all of us played a solid game,
Bill, you're a 17, 18-year-old kid, and you're out there at Barton Coliseum, and you look up, and we're ahead of the Harrison Goblins, and we're fixing to win a state championship. What do you think?
Well, actually, believe it or not, it crossed my mind that this is kind of what we'd work for. I don't know if that's thinking like a coach or what, but when we did go up by about 18, you know, I obviously knew we had done it. And then I think it hit me right then that we'd won it. But the thing I remember about that too, that when we won that thing, we didn't do a lot of individual celebrating among ourselves. We were more of a, I don't know if you call it laid back, but business-like about it, and the crowd did that for us. And that's the thing that I always appreciated, that the fact that we didn't have to be our own cheerleaders. You know, the fans and the cheerleaders and all that really helped, but it was an exhilarating feeling. It really was.
Okay. Well, we got there. Yes, that's in the 1965 Newport High School annual, I believe, right? Okay. Yeah, of the team shot. David, can you come in there just a little bit? A lot of you that have those annuals have seen that picture. We were identifying some of the other guys earlier that aren't with us, and I want to give some credit to Freddie Sweat, who was really our sixth man on the team. Ronnie Stites played some. Yeah. Freddie, I mentioned before we started taking some of the guys, several games, maybe we were a little sluggish against our. Freddie'd come in, had a real good knack of passing the basketball. He could get the ball in places we need to put the basketball, and I certainly want to salute Freddie because he was an integral part of this basketball team too. And as we said, Ronnie played quite a bit also. But really, you five guys doing 99% of the bulk of the work along with Freddie and Ronnie. Championship we're talking about. Bill Holt, what'd you feel like? You said earlier you knew it was over when it was finally over, but when in that fourth quarter or third quarter or whenever did you think, look at us, and how did you feel?
Well, I was elated, but why wouldn't you be? But I agree with Ozier. I think the best feeling is that all these people are supporting us. All these people are behind us, and I'm not sure that I can describe that, and I think it's still the same way. I believe that we have some of the greatest fans here in Newport that you can find anywhere, and I say that because since that time I've been in a lot of different places, and my boys have played sports in a lot of other schools, and fortunately my Dean got to come back and play some last year for Newport and playing this year for Newport. And of all the schools that my boys had played in, still Newport's fans are by far the best fans I've seen in any other place I've been in. And that's true today, and that was true then as well. And I think that was the best thing, is to realize that all these folks around here, they've really helped us, and they've really encouraged us, and they're really for us, and it was just a great feeling.
Donald Ray and Mike, fourth quarter, late in the game, we're going to win it. When did you know it? How'd you feel?
I was on the bench then. I think I fouled out.
Yeah, he sat on the bench.
I think I fouled out in the third quarter, but I do remember when we were playing that looking at just the looks on the Harrison players' face, they were stunned. They could not understand how we were doing what we were doing. And I think at that point I'd realized that we were going to win this ball game and win the state championship.
Mike?
Well, I knew we had it won before the game even started.
I did too.
We came in.
I did too.
We came in after we warmed up, and we were just us five in there, and Coach Duncan come in there, and they sent all these telegrams, and we knew the whole town was down there, and we were so fired up and high. I just knew there was no way they was going to beat us.
Bush Duncan, you really knew. You knew the plan would work. We go out and execute it. We were going to beat them.
The semifinal ball game, I thought we were going to be the state champions. But when I actually knew it is when we went out there and we broke that press early, and like Donald Ray said, the look on their faces, they were beat. They were beat 3 minutes into the ball game. I mean,
yeah, because they had destroyed everybody, and and they might go, as you say, a quarter and be trailing Paragould 16-5. Those kids had confidence when they put that heat on.
They caught them by halftime. They caught Paragould, and they held Washington to 9 points.
So they thought they were going to win. They thought they were going to do the same things to us, and when we discouraged them, and then Butch, they had no answer.
We're really a better basketball team than Harrison was. And I knew that, and that's something that it built during the year. I'm talking about, these 4 guys didn't play football. Mike did, but I mean, they were out there, and I mean, they had worked their entire careers for this one moment.
Ever since we were in the 7th grade, we played together. So.
Yeah, something else I was going to say. A lot of people remember that you guys, you know, let's say, Mike, you're the underclassman, right? You're the 11th grader, right? Okay, but you guys spent a lot of time practicing together on your own, playing a lot of basketball together. Everybody talked about the
summer camp.
Right. So I guess it takes that. I guess that.
I remember when Bill Holt couldn't even get up the floor. His 10th, he had trouble getting up the floor.
People used to say to me, they said, I don't know now, Bill Holt, when he was in 10th grade, I don't know, you think he's going to make it? And I said, look at him. He's going to be, he's a little gawky right now. It sure is. But I said, you just wait. I said, we're going to work. He's going to be good. And after he graduated, a guy, pretty important guy in the administration came around and said, Coach Duke, I'm glad you stuck to your beliefs on Bill Holt, because he sure proved to be what you thought he was going to be.
He had major college offers from all over, didn't you, Bill?
I have a few.
It had to be a blessing for all you little guys to be playing with the big guy. I mean, the 1965 6'5" guy's a pretty good sized fella.
It's nice to come down to the top of the key and you look up there and you can see that head sticking above everybody else.
Didn't he have that flat top and he wore that butch wax? He just flat, you know, gave him another inch.
Well, I want to go back to you guys, you 4 guys that were seniors, your junior year. I'm trying to remember what kind of, I know we had a pretty decent basketball team. Didn't we get upset by Stuttgart or something, district tournament, play terrible?
Wait, that was my fault because, I mean, I'm usually frank. If we can beat a team, I don't go in there and say, hey, these guys are going to beat us. Well, hey, we were a decent team. We won probably 13-11, but we beat. We were playing Paragould, okay? We played Stuttgart, and they were like, I think they were 1-18, and I'm thinking.
Oh, they were 0-18.
From losing to an 0-18 bunch to the state championship.
They have a guy named Peacock that played for Arkansas, who later was great. But I honestly thought we'd beat them easily, and we were lackadaisical, and they beat us. And well, we were edifiers. We made them feel good. But they needed to win one during the year. But it's a wonder I was able to keep my job. So that.
I think they fired basketball coaches in it.
Well, that's right. Right. That's right. So anyway, you're right, and that.
I remember that as a stunning upset, and because I always thought about, boy, a team that loses in the district tournament to an 0-18 bunch, and 4 of those guys, and they had a sophomore, a junior the next year, Mike Allen, go on and win the state championship. That's probably as bad an upset as we've ever been involved in that junior year.
That could have been a motivating factor for the next year too. That stayed in the back of our minds a little bit. And I think it was in the back of our minds when we played Batesville, the first game of that tournament the next year. Because I know we kind of talked through that tournament that we were going to do the things we had control over. We were going to get every loose ball. We were going to get every rebound. Things that you didn't have to have skill to do, but you had. And we kind of talked about that, and those are the things that got us beat against Stuttgart. So
something else, too. When we got down in the newspapers and everything in Little Rock, see, these other teams were accustomed to going. You had like these teams from Northwest Arkansas and Paragould, Leachville, and all these schools that were accustomed to going. Hey, Newport was a new city. I mean, when had it been since Newport had been the state tournament? And for us to win it, that was what, for the whole state, Newport, Arkansas, that's a football school, isn't it? And so when we won it, it was even more amazing because of that reason.
And you know, in junior high, you can look this one up in your book too. We beat Paragould another time, and I got the winning layup. Butch Duncan remembers it.
Certainly did. We didn't win many.
Yeah, I think we won 2 or 3. Hey, I want to mention as you're watching this on Cable 15, we have several folks from the community who've dropped in here at Nanny's, come by to see the guys and visiting. We're airing our program Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock after church. And if you're watching that, if you've missed part of the program, Tuesday night at 6. And then again, Friday morning, the Friday after Thanksgiving at 7:30 as part of our breakfast bunch. So you got a lot of opportunities to see this program. I know a lot of you may have joined in the middle of the program. It's just a reunion get-together we want to do on television here of the 1965 state championship basketball team from Newport, Arkansas. We're at Nanny's Bakery. The McKees very gracious to Charlie's been wanting to do this for a long time, especially since we started our television here a year and a half ago, and it is a great opportunity to get everybody together and visit, and our pleasure to do that. Now, let's update what everybody's doing right now. Even you folks that live in Newport, maybe haven't been here a long time. Paul, you're in Tulsa, and
got 3 daughters. One's graduated from college. One that plays basketball. She's a 9th grader and 6 foot, but she can't move like the old man could. But I'm working on it. But they live pretty close to Coach Duke. I play a little tennis with him every once in a while and stuff. He's still tough. Still tough.
All right. Bill Ozier, great career as a head basketball coach at Newport High School and still involved with the school.
Yeah, I was teaching 6 civics classes a day and coaching 7th grade girls. And my family got a daughter that's still in school here that plays on the girls team. She's a junior, and got 2 sons that live up at Fayetteville. And this, I think, is my 22nd year here at Newport, so I sort of hadn't left.
A pretty good litany of conference championships also, and our congratulations, because you coached some very good basketball teams here.
Thank you. I had some real good players during my tenure in coaching here, and that, you know, I can kind of identify with Coach Duke a little bit. I'm the only one of the bunch that can know how Coach Duke and Coach Duncan actually felt, you know, during those times, and I can imagine how exhilarated they were too as coaches that would have taken place. So we surely appreciate those 2 guys very much.
Okay, and Coach Duke, and you left after the championship season.
Yes, and that wasn't the reason I left, actually.
Was it Duncan?
No, I really, it's a privilege to be here and work with these young people, and I've been gone now 31 years, and I still look back on it as a great time in my life. And but I have had the privilege of being a coach at Oral Roberts University. In fact, basketball team play. Oh man, I saw where Arkansas beat Jackson Port 120.
Jackson State 50 points. Yeah.
I mean, we play them next Thursday night. Last year they only beat us 1 point, but I'm dreading it this year. But I've had 125 players from 25 countries, and I've coached tennis out there and worked with the people. I got Teacher of the Year a couple of years ago, and I told them they thought I retired 2 years ago, but I only meant they didn't have to pay me because I could draw my retirement. And I have an assistant, and I still teach 2 days a week, and I'm the head coach and travel to Air Force and places like that. And it's just been a pleasure.
Well, our pleasure to have you back here today. I know you've had this bunch has had class reunions. You've been in town before, but again, our pleasure for you to sit down with us and spend your valuable time. Glad to have you make the trip.
Yeah, and let me say this. My wife taught this guy and said he was one of the brightest she had. She remembers him in the 5th grade, and he was a neat little kid then. I don't know.
I'm a neat big kid now.
I've heard good things about him now, but she said I knew he was going to turn out because when he was in the 5th grade, he was great. And she said, that's just what she said.
I appreciate that. Raymond Duncan, you have had, in all seriousness, and I know you want to joke and kid about it, but a very impressive coaching career all the way up to the college level. Got started right here with me as one of your youngins in the 9th grade when you became the head football coach at Newport Junior High School, and I was on one of your first ball clubs. By the way, we beat Batesville that year, too. We certainly did. And tell us about your travels, because you worked with Bill Keedy some and at Arkansas State some in the insurance business and have become one of the best in the field.
Well, first of all, I didn't realize. I knew that Burness was always Massey's idol, but I didn't know Paul would have 3 girls. Just call Burness did.
Didn't get 1 boy.
Yeah, we got 3 girls too.
I know. But anyhow, yeah, I got started here. It's my first coaching job. I lived in Batesville, and the only time I'd ever been down here was either to visit some friends of mine or Thanksgiving football game and basketball season. But this is, a lot of times people say, where are you from? And I'll say, if I'm in Batesville, I'll say Batesville. A lot of times I'll tell people I'm from Newport, because I was just, as you said, I was just a neat kid when I came here, too.
He was still in the larva stage. Yeah, look at that.
But anyhow, that was 65 was a highlight. You know, I enjoyed the 7 years that I lived here and coached, and I'm one of the fortunate people. I've only done 2 things in my life, and that was coaching in the insurance business, so I've never had a real job. I mean, I enjoy going to work. I enjoyed coaching until I got ready to give it up. I have 2 sons that are grown. Blake is the oldest one, who was born in '64. Right over there is an agency manager with Farm Bureau.
And you came off the practice field.
Yes.
That afternoon. We were practicing.
Yes. Yeah, we were practicing, and I did come down here and was there for the delivery from the practice field, which I was always glad I was, because I heard about it. I wasn't there during a lot of the pain. So anyhow, but he's very successful in his own right. Now I have a granddaughter that I can see how these little girls, because I had 2 sons, but the granddaughter has just got me wrapped around her little finger. But my youngest son is in the car business. He works for Truman Baker Ford in Batesville. He went to college. He was in racehorsing business for a while, and finally found something he really enjoys doing. And they're both successful young men, and a lot better than I deserve.
And you're the agency manager, Farm Bureau, Independence County, after starting with that organization down in Stuttgart, I believe.
Yes, I started. That's where I ended my coaching career, was at Stuttgart. I went from here to Texarkana to Magnet Cove, and Bill and I coached at Paragould together, and then I went from, when he went to Sylvan Hills, I went to Stuttgart, and I stayed in it 1 more year. So I've been in the insurance business for 20 years, and but the 65 bunch is always special. People talk to me about this all the time. They know I was involved with it, and it was a highlight, because I love Newport. I mean, it was good to me. I love the people, and I wouldn't take anything for that experience in my life.
Absolutely. Mike Allen, you and your late father, D.T. Allen, involved in the masonry and brick business. Mike likes to play golf. Has had some health problems that limit him sometimes from being as good as he could be. But you've been able to stay here in Newport, Arkansas.
Yeah, my mom and dad moved here in 1946 from World War II, and I've got 3 kids. My oldest is 25, and he's working with me now since we're still running the business my dad started. My daughter's going to graduate from the University of Arkansas this year, and I've got another boy that's a freshman this year at the University of Arkansas, and he may be like me and Donald Ray. He might be on an 8 or 10 year program. I don't know, but he may be there a while. But
yeah, I'm still trying to pay my loan back.
I bet he's got the social skills down.
Yeah.
Donald Ray Smotherman, longtime State Farm insurance agent, very, very successful, stayed in Newport, Arkansas.
Yes, this is my home, and I went to ASU when I got out of high school. When I finished there, I came back here and went to work. Jack Owens felt sorry for me and gave me a job at the bank. And then I got in insurance business in '75 and have been with them ever since. I have 1 son who will be, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, will be finishing in December over at ASU. And he's wanting to get in the insurance business also. But this, in '65, was probably one of the highlights of my life. It was something that every month or every week somebody says something about that basketball team. And I was just glad to be a part of it.
And Bill Holt, Bill, you have been able to come back to Newport, Arkansas after having been around the country. And Bill's a minister at the Holden Avenue Church of Christ, and I know it's important for you, and I know you feel it's important for young people like Dean, and you talked about the great fans here, but it is a thrill for all of us to now have you back in Newport.
Well, thank you. It's good for me to be back. I tell the people at the church often that I've been all over the world, and a couple of times, I guess, because I was in the service for about 24 years, and I realized that about the best people in the world are right here. And so I'm real happy to come back, and I'm real happy that my son is back and in Newport High School, and they've got good coaches now, they've got good teachers now, they've got a good school system now, and that's just a thrill for me to be back. And enjoying Newport again. And I have 4 children actually. The dean, who is our youngest, is a senior this year in Newport High School, and I've got an older girl that's she's the oldest, and she's in San Diego, and then I've got one boy that's in the Marine Corps right now, and then I've got another son who's in Harding College down the road, or Harding University down the road, and it's my wife and I just really appreciate being here, and we really enjoy the folks, and it's just a big lift to be back with people that care about you. People around here care about you. You've got the junior high coach and the senior high coach that are here now with us today as well. So
yeah, Coach Wallace, Coach McKee have come in. I see some old cheerleaders like Cynthia Keedy Smotherman that have come in to visit. I didn't mean old cheerleaders, former cheerleaders, right? Yes.
I have a personal message for Bill's dad. Bill's dad loaned me a putter in 1963 when I started playing golf, and I still use it. It's the only putter. You know how a lot of people change putters like they change wives or, stuff like that, but I don't. I played the same one, so I was down there playing in a tournament too.
But you have changed wives.
I just wish I hadn't said that. But I do think I got custody of my scrapbook. But I saw Mr. Holt, and I said, Mr. Holt, I still have that putter you loaned me in 1963. And he said, you still using it? I said, yes, sir. I was going to give it back to him.
Oh, guys, it has been a ball being here. We want to thank Coach Duke and Paul especially for coming in, making the trip from Tulsa. Right, and again, we're going to show this if you're watching Sunday afternoon. Our program started at 1 o'clock after church. Tuesday night at 6, and then this coming Friday morning at 7:30 is part of our live show many of you watch called The Breakfast Bunch each Friday morning, 7:30 until the conclusion. Guys, it has been a ball, and I hope you've enjoyed sitting around. And I know y'all have done this some before at reunions, but it's the first time for our fans and the people of Newport to hear you guys talk about it.
It's kind of sad I didn't get to see Mr. Mullins and Mr. Wiggins. Both of them passed away.
Right. Time flies, and we're all getting older, but be thankful for every day and all of the great memories, and pleased that everybody is doing so well. And it's nice to know that people still think about you and those great memories. And, as an athlete, even a high school athlete, the things that you do and represent yourself with your character, wins and losses are great, but your accomplishment. And as a younger kid, and I think about the kids younger than me, looked up to you guys. It's like you mentioned, Coach, the movie Hoosiers. Heroes for all the right reasons, and we thank you for that.
Character sums up. When one word sums up this team, the '65 team had character. Had a couple of characters. The bunch did have character. And that was what character.
I want to say one more thing. All right. This fellow right here has had a significant impact on everybody's life around this table, I'm sure, and probably in this room, because he really was a good example for us. And this fellow right here had a significant impact on us too. Not so always the best example, but but we love him nonetheless. But
I guess when you're a preacher, you just got to call him like they
are. But really, it wasn't. I think it wasn't just winning those ball games, but I think that they taught us a whole lot about life as well. And when I talk about Newport and when I talk about the coaches that we have today as well, I think we've got some good coaches in that school today that are very good moral people, and they uphold the important things of life. And I want to tell them that I appreciate that too. Stan McKee and Jim Wallace, who are coaching basketball this year, I think that they're two just like these two as well, that they uphold the things that we need to set the example for the young people.
Butch, I'm going to ask you to talk just a second about Coach Duke. His athletic ability as an athlete, because a lot of people don't realize that. Even some that were here in '65 do not realize what a great basketball player and boxer and athlete this man is.
He was and is an exceptional athlete, I'm sure. Paul says you still play tennis He's the only person I ever see hit a tennis ball and make it flatten out. And that's the truth. I watched him during his career. I'm a few years younger than Coach Duke is, and I watched him at Arkansas College. And he came to Arkansas College from Hardy, and like I said, he didn't play basketball. He was in the 11th grade, and we played basklemore together. We played more independent games, you know. We'd get in that old green station wagon and go play. But Burness I don't remember what year he was in school up there, played a basketball game, and I think he scored 17 points, got about 12 or 13 rebounds, and then went to they got him in the car and took him to Little Rock, and he knocked out Billy Ray Smith.
No, I've just beat him in a decision.
You knocked him out?
And then I called Billy Ray. They had a big article in the paper.
I've been telling people that for years.
Well, there's a big article in the paper about his son, Billy Ray, and I didn't know where Billy Ray was, and I called him and plain old time. I said, Billy Ray, there's a big article about your son. Can you give me your address? Send it. He said, who's this I'm talking to? I said, well, I didn't want him to know. I said, well, Billy Ray, it doesn't really matter. I only met you for about, at most, 30 minutes. And he said
30 seconds in the first round.
No, actually, people don't know it, but I fought Billy Ray twice.
Oh.
And he said, come on, give me a chance. I said, well, my name's Burness Duke. Burness Duke, he said. He said, how could I forget you? That's the only fight I lost in Arkansas.
But that was on the same day, Butch. Played the basketball game.
And went down there, and he pulled off his basketball jersey and fought left his just fought him in tennis shoes, and we went to the Nationals or whatever it was. I don't know what he went to. He got decisioned in there because he let this guy after he knocked his mouthpiece out. That's how the story goes. You didn't get back up.
Billy actually won the regional Kansas City.
Yeah.
He won the whole thing because I actually didn't go there because we went to Denver. We won the state AAU in basketball, and I went to Denver.
Right.
And so I didn't get to go to that particular one.
The AAU team, Carter?
Well, Carter Buick, and then Arkansas College too. Yeah, I played for Carter Buick about 6 years, and so yeah, we won the AAU.
Burness would say, come on, he liked to play with me because I'd pass the ball. I'd like Don Ray.
That's right.
You know, I couldn't shoot very well, so I'd worked on my passing all the time while I played basketball. But we'd play some of those guys like Jimmy Cup, some of them, and Burness would say, Cup, throw me the ball. He said, let me shoot one. He said, okay, rebound this one.
Yeah.
You know? Rebound, and he could score under the basket.
Yeah.
I've got a story about Coach Duncan's.
This may be good here.
This goes back to Arkansas College, or Lyon College, where he was manager for the legendary coach R.C. Winningham. He is the only undefeated basketball coach in Lyon College history. Coach in the AIC.
We're all still here. We just got a bad belt on the machine back there.
Coach Winningham got the flu one night and couldn't make the trip. I believe it was to Southern State, wasn't it? Magnolia, Arkansas. Coach Duncan, his senior year, was the manager of that team and also helped Coach Winningham out. He lets Coach Duncan take the team to Southern Arkansas University, which it is right now, and they go down there and they beat the Mule Riders. At home. Wow. And he was the manager of the basketball team, so he could coach before he got to Newport High School.
I was a freshman in college.
I would have loved to have been on the bus on the return trip.
You got to realize that his father was on the state championship team of Arkansas that won the state in 1939.
Right.
I got a lot of stories I could tell about Coach Duncan, but I can't talk about it on TV.
I've got a few myself.
We had a guy on that Arkansas College team. He was like Mike Allen. You know, his right arm's about that much longer than his left one from shooting, and he got hot that night, and he was throwing them in from everywhere.
Who was
that? Bertie Rogers.
Oh, Bertie Rogers.
Yeah, Bertie Rogers scored about 40 that night. Yeah. And Coach Winningham had a rule. He wouldn't go in to get out of his zone defense till he was behind or, you know, he had certain rules and everything. You know, I saw Southern State was going to kill us in that zone, so I changed the middle of the first quarter, started pressing, went to man. He said, man, the first thing he said to me, he didn't say congratulations or anything. He walked in the next day and he said, boy, if I could have got to you by the phone, I'd have had your line. I said, Coach, we won.
So you retired undefeated.
But I've been lucky. I mean, Coach Winningham knew I was going to be a coach. I knew from the time I was 9 years old that's what I wanted to be.
True.
So Winningham came to me and he said he recruited me as a manager and student assistant. You know, he said, there's nobody buying nose guards that weigh 150 pounds and run 119 flat, don't you? I said, yes, sir. And he said, you know you don't shoot well enough to play in college, talking about basketball. And I said, yes, sir. I thought, well, what's he doing? So he said, I know you're going to coach. And the only question I asked him, I said, yes, I'll tell you, they paid my way to school, everything except your books, which was a good deal back then because AIC just had half scholarships at that time. And Winningham said, I said, well, will you let me coach? And he said, son, I have to. I don't have any help. so I was actually had spent 4 years when I started here working with him.
Great.
And so I had an advantage over a lot of those young guys that were just starting out because I'd been on that bench for 4 years, and so it was really an advantage. And then Burns is how I got here. Don Horton was the head coach and athletic director, and he was trying to hire an assistant coach to work with high school and junior high, and Burness wanted to get somebody that had some basketball experience, and so he came up. You remember we met over at Coach Winningham's house, and he recruited me, and I came down here my senior year and not in practice teach. I substitute taught down here for 2 or 3 days that spring, and it was really and I liked it then, but Burness is the reason I got in the coaching business.
Let me tell you my one good Butch Duncan story. As we start the fall season in '64, right? Okay, you're head football coach junior high, and I'm on that team, and Butch is his first coaching job, really. I mean, that level, wanting to really impress us. So he was a hard worker, to say the least. And a lot of the ninth graders paid the price. There were times, and this is a story a lot of guys my age will remember because it was true. We lost a football game one time, and we went out after practice, had a nice 2.5 hour practice. It started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. About 6 o'clock, after we went out there 3 hours, started to get a little hazy and a little dark. So we got ready to run wind sprints. We started running about 6. About 7:30, we were still running wind sprints, and it got dark, and Butch asked all the folks that were there watching practice to pull their cars up around track field and turn on the lights so we could run some more. I'm telling you what. Now, you remember it and tell them it's the truth.
That is the truth. They did do that, and that was a.
I didn't like you.
No, I don't. Let me tell you what. Looking back, I don't see how anybody did. All I knew was hard work, and I was practicing on y'all.
Everybody loved you, but
I appreciate y'all letting me learn how to coach.
One guy that we should give credit for too was Don Hyman. He had these guys in 7th and 8th grade. And Don lived sports, and he got all intense. Of course, I saved him one time on a trip, but guess what?
Can't tell that story.
That was not arable?
No, nothing wrong with it. It was something else. But it was just when I drove his bus for him one afternoon, and someone was wanting to pick on him. They thought it was me that was him, and they said, "Get out, buddy." And I got out, and he'd made their kid walk home. And this guy says, "I thought you said he was a little fella." And he says, my son says he was. Then I realized that they weren't after me. So I said, well, yeah, I'm just a substitute today. And so the guy says, okay. But I said, don't bother, Don. Well. But anyway, Don did a good job with these young kids when they were like in the 7th, 8th grade. He worked them and got some good, some good basics for them.
All right.
Paul Massey summed that up real good. He made a statement the other day. He said that Don Heineman taught us the fundamentals of the game in junior high, and Burness Duke taught us how to play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with that, it seemed like even the coaching staff fit in the mix that we were going to win that tournament. And I thought that was a real good way of stating that.
Well, it was a marvelous year, and I know a great year, and everybody said, oh, that's the old days, but the old days are worth talking about, and they're worth remembering because it was a tremendous accomplishment. To my knowledge, no team before or no team since Newport High School history has ever won a basketball state championship. But your bunch came close in 69-70.
Yeah, well, I had a good bunch of athletes that year. They were fun to coach, and it was, we had a good mix on that team too, and basically, we had a young 10th grader, in Donaldson, and we had Mr. Hogan's nephew, and just had some good, had Jim Reed Holden, we had Kearney Blaylock, we had Bobby Forster, who was he was like Donald Ray, and we had the shooters and had some rebounders, had a couple of big boys. Clay Wright played, and it was a good mix. And it was a fun bunch, but you know, we couldn't get it accomplished like this bunch did. We ran into Cersei and
Yeah,
they had them walking on eggs, but we couldn't beat them.
That was a heck of a basketball team, and then of course Coach Ozier had, as I said, won several conference championships here, and we've had some quality ball clubs during his reign. You got to be. We've always talked. You know, Bill Keaty's talked about this many times. You have to be good. You have to be injury-free, and you have to be a little lucky along the way to win it.
Right.
And when you put that all together and you've got a quality ball club, almost anything can happen.
Right. See, Bruce, I didn't have to worry. I didn't know that you knew we were going to win the state. I was actually worried up till the last quarter.
I was actually worried during that semifinal game.
Get us to the finals.
I scared to death
my
of that baseball
goodness.
game.
Yeah, that was one that we really had a chance to lose because, you know, and there we were. That's how close.
That's my lucky coat.
Look at him.
Let's see if we
Look at
can.
him. Look at him.
David, we'll try to get as close to that as we can.
That was in the state tournament.
I tried to tell. Yeah, I was trying to tell.
All right, David will have to focus a little bit on this picture, so y'all bear with us here.
Yeah, I wore that jacket to that first game, and just said I'd bring it home, and whoever had the cleaners here would clean it for me. And I'd wear it the next day. So, these people that saw every game thought, man, that guy, he didn't have but one jacket, and that may have been true.
David, stay in here close with us on the camera. We'll look at some other pictures.
I sat there by Coach Duke.
Yeah, here's a picture of Bill Holt on the bench with Coach Duke.
Here's afterwards.
All right, he's all right. Got a pretty good shot there.
Hare, Mr. Keaty, Michael Hare, the barber's daughter. That was
That's some of the folks.
Barbara Vest.
Is this after the game?
That's after the game.
That's after the game.
After the state
Is
championship
Mr.
game.
Keaty there? He's on the
Upper right-hand corner of your picture.
Yeah, in the upper right-hand corner is where Mr. Keaty is standing there. Hey, a bunch of happy people right there, weren't they?
Oh, I'm gonna look at that one. Yes, sir.
That was fun.
And you know what? They took up money for us and said, you can go on a trip, and we went to New Orleans, and it was really nice. But I'm not so organized as I should be, and I didn't have a place to meet in New Orleans. We were all driving cars, and apparently Bill almost ran out of gas and stopped. He and Paul and them got lost. And we didn't find them again till we got to New Orleans. We saw them driving up and down the street.
They really left us, is what they did, and he thought I was trying to get away from him, but they ran off and left us. That's what they did.
That was my first airplane ride because Bill went across that bridge, I think, about 100 miles an hour. First airplane ride.
That's where we caught you, was on the bridge. We're stopped talking.
There's Ransom Smith's daughters.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture here of Mary Smith, one of the cheerleaders.
Ransom Smith's daughter, Mary.
As we said, Cynthia's here with us. Come over here and wave. So come over here and scoot on over here. Get over here by your better half if you want to. And and get a shot. Cynthia's one of those cheerleaders, and look at there. Looks like articles out of the Newport Independent. We're number one. Hounds win 67-49. Cheerleaders got to go on the trip.
Cheerleaders going.
Cheerleaders used to have to help the boosters to get out and make the money.
and I was just looking. I'd forgotten that Coach Counts went, but they said he was the chaperone.
Yeah, he was a heck of a chaperone.
Yeah, I've been with Coach Counts, rest his soul, as a chaperone a couple of times. Some of those football trips. What else?
Here's Mr. Mike's dad we must have had a real greyhound.
Yes, and down through the years.
Yeah.
Nicky the greyhound, and Coach Duncan's looking through some of the ball game stats.
Well, Treadway wasn't a very good scorer.
Larry Treadway, who my classmate and in the Batesville coaching system, school system for a long time. Guys, we have had a ball. I appreciate everybody being here. Let me remind the fans one more time, Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock we started this program, and we'll air it again Tuesday night at 6. Then this coming Friday morning, the day after Thanksgiving, at 7:30 as part of our breakfast bunch. This is the 1965 Newport Greyhound State Basketball Championship team. And again, we thank the McKees here at Nanny's Bakery for for Mr. Charlie coming up with the idea. He's been talking to me for a year now about getting everybody together and doing a TV interview show just like this. And if you've joined us in the middle of it here at the tail end, set your VCRs for those other times, Tuesday at 6 and Friday morning at 7:30. And we're going to see that all the guys here get a copy of this tape also. Give you the guys an excuse to come back. Thanks for being here, fellas. We have enjoyed it. And again, congratulations on all the great thrills, and congratulations on what you guys have done as men in your community and as leaders, and as Butch Duncan said, showing great character on and off that basketball floor. Our pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, and we appreciate that. You're watching Newport Cable 15 on the Newport Cable Television System. I'm Bud Black.
Jackson's Funeral Home and the Jackson family have been serving our friends and neighbors in Jackson County during some of the most difficult times of their lives for nearly 60 years. We believe the highest standard of care is achieved when people are given the tools needed to make the most informed decision for the benefit of their family. For us, there's no greater honor than to care for our friends and our neighbors in their time of need. The Jackson's Funeral Homes, the 1900 block of Malcolm Avenue in Newport, phone number 870-523-5822.
George Kell Motors in Newport is not your typical new car dealership. Sure, we've got a great selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs, great prices, and an award-winning service department. But did you know that we can customize your vehicle to make it look exactly like you want it to look? Come see us. We got wheels, tires, lift kits, window tint, any and everything you want to personalize your vehicle to make it unique. Just come to George Kell Motors off of Highway 67, exit 85 in Newport. Let's get started on your ride.